All right, Lagos. It is 16 minutes. Well, now it is 17 minutes, Campus 5. You are tuned into the marketplace here on Smooth 98.1. It's a Monday, so as always, on Mondays, 5:15, we're talking about the marketplace. What exactly are we going to be talking about on the marketplace today? Well, we'll be discussing the monetary policy for Nigeria. The Central Bank of Nigeria's Monetary Policy Committee will be holding its 302nd meeting today and tomorrow. And then the decisions will be delivered, say, sometime tomorrow, probably around 2 p.m. But before we get all the updates, we have a guest who will be joining us to unpack it all, tell us what it to look forward to, how the markets, or what CBN could be talking about. But it's always great to have the insights. Well, joining me in talking about this is my guest is Oreoluwa Oluwaserantimi. She is the research analyst at Vetiva Capital Management Limited. Good evening, Oreoluwa, and good to have you with me.
Good evening. Excited to be here. It's a pleasure.
All right, Lagos, you also get to be part of the conversations. Well, are you in the market? What questions do you have? What contributions would you like to add? Well, what you can do for us, if you have any contributions, observations, is to share them with us on WhatsApp. The number is 0911 999 091. Take that again, 0911 999 091. Love to hear from you and what are the contributions that you may have. Okay, Oreoluwa, let's get into the conversation. I know that the monetary policy rate is at 27.5%. But with that, what exactly is the monetary policy rate and how will it impact individual and businesses going forward?
Okay, thank you so much for the question. The monetary policy rate is the benchmark interest rate at which the central bank, lends to commercial bank. It is also the economy's short-term anchor for both borrowing and lending rates. So its impact on individuals will be, an higher monetary policy rate will mean, stronger incentive to save. That's for individuals, but also expensive loans, like higher credit rates, and also it can also slow down consumer spending. As we know, individuals would prefer to rather save than spend. But for businesses,
Okay.
For businesses, higher monetary policy rates will mean higher cost of capital in terms of borrowings to invest in their business, a slower investment decision as higher rates will make them pull back from borrowings from the bank, but also an higher interest rate on a positive note for the businesses will reduce the inflationary pressure on their input costs, which will also relate to price stability.
Okay, at least we won't be having those the price you have today is not the price. The price you bought in the morning is not the one in the afternoon, or the what you're getting in today is not for tomorrow. I like that. It actually makes a whole lot of sense. And I hope when we get all the updates by tomorrow, we'll get to know where we stand and what the whole deal is. But why has the rate actually been kept at 27.5% for this long? Because I'm wondering, what exactly is the objective of the CBN?
Yeah, the Central Bank of Nigeria has held the rate at 27.5% for 4 consecutive sections since November 2024. This is, hinged on their major objective to stabilize price as well as curb inflationary pressures in both the short term and the long term. As you know, they have this commitment to achieving a single-digit inflation rate in the medium to long term. So this has been their major objective for holding the rate steady at 27.5%.
Thank you. Okay, that makes a whole lot of sense. Well, you know, until you dabble into the space, it always seems like, oh, these numbers, they're, for better of what, they seem elusive, but at least now one can understand what that is and why that number has actually been kept. And for those who dabble in the market daily, or at least every other week, they know how this also pans out and how it affects their businesses, either as individual, maybe SMEs or bigger corporatives that are getting into the market. Now let's talk about inflation, because you touched on that a little. I know that inflation has been decelerating for at least 5 months. Since April, we've been seeing that, and that is actually great for certain businesses. Just thinking about that makes them want to, and investors would want to be in this space. So, but we're now at 20.12%. If my observation is, I think that was in August. I want to know though, what have been the triggers for this deceleration? What has been the reason why we've been seeing this downward trend? And is it something we want to be happy about, especially for businesses and investors who are coming into the space?
Okay, thank you so much for the question. We've seen, yes, like you said, a 5 month disinflationary trend in the year 2025. And this is hinged on the, first of all, the base effect. The National Bureau of Statistics rebased the CPI data and GDP data, and it started in January 2025. So this has been the major driver. But as well for August, as we saw 20.12, that's like the lowest since the mid 2022. Yeah. This can be attributed to this deceleration, can be attributed to a moderate decline in food inflation. So we've seen harvest spillover, we've seen softer import food prices due to stable FX rate so far. So this has also fed into this disinflationary trend that we've seen. And also, we've seen, like I said, the FX market is relatively stable. So, and this is hinged on, foreign investments coming in. So it has assisted both importers, to reduce their input prices. Yeah.
Awesome. Like I said, hey, anything that makes investors come in and we see how our businesses in Nigeria gets to see the light of day, that is a win-win situation, and we want our businesses to thrive. So I'm all for it. But do you see the inflation slowing further as we close out into the year?
So this is conditional, yes. The inflation is
Mm,
likely to continue downward, to continue its downward momentum, given the fact that, like I said, the base effects. So, they changed the base year from 2009 to 2024. So now we have the shorter range of when you're calculating a percentage change. So this has really
mm.
influenced, yes, the deceleration. But also if the food inflation also, keeps declining, as well as we, keep having, our FX stability and like not volatility in terms of the naira holding steady around its 1.5 levels. Yes, we should continue to see this momentum for the rest of 2025.
Well, 2025 we're already in September. Before you know it, we're getting into October. So if this continues, if this trajectory continues, I wonder what 2026 will be like. Businesses will really be looking forward to just hey, I don't know what's the word I'm there's a word I'm trying to get at, but I guess I'll get back into it. Okay, let me take a thought here. Hi, Emmy. Good evening to you. Emmy says, what type of inflation are we currently facing in Nigeria? And is it demand pull inflation or cost push inflation or hyperinflation? Okay, thank you so much, Emmy, for that question. Okay. Oreoluwa, would you like to address that?
Oh yes, so for Nigeria, we we've seen the cost pull inflation. Again, in terms of prices, market prices, the inflationary pressure, exerting market prices. In terms of, particularly as we are most likely an import-dependent country. So you see the global shocks and the likes feed into our cost and then relates to market prices.
Well, Emmy, I hope that answers your question. And well, like I said, we're seeing positives as opposed to negatives. Usually, we trying to see how we have investors come in. Now, investors don't have to worry so much because now they can actually get access to their funds or to their their monies after they're done business. It was a bit difficult trying to get it out, but now, none of that, and it's just good. But let's quickly touch on this. I know that the naira has appreciated this month, and it's been a good one. It started out with 1,526 naira to the dollar, and eventually, as at Friday, it closed at 1,487 naira to the dollar. What has been behind this appreciation? I'm actually all for it. If we could go back to 150, that would be great. Well, I'm just saying, but 500 will even be good. But let's get into this and let me know what has been behind this. I'm actually excited about this though.
Yeah, so I'll kickstart my answer with, like I said earlier, higher FX inflows,
Okay.
attracting, foreign investors due to our high interest rates. And
Cool.
also seeing CBN intervention in the FX market quite a lot,
Right. Mm.
trying to, ensure supply meets demand in the market, and if there's no excess demand that will push up price and then disappreciate the naira. So also we can also consider, global factors that we've seen the US Fed cut rates, and then investors are looking for, emerging markets to invest. So that can also be a contributing factor to the appreciation of the naira.
Mm. Okay. So, but do you see this appreciation of the naira continuing, or should we still hold our sides and not get too carried away?
Yes, it's conditional, right? So if we maintain our relatively stable macro environment that we've seen, we're seeing what's it called, the FX inflow still coming in, not too restrictive, and we're not seeing like hot money in terms of portfolio outflows. So if this persists in terms of the weaker dollar, which will make the naira to appreciate as well. And as well as, like I said, investors looking at emerging markets, sub-Saharan Africa to invest. If all of this continue, and also in terms of prices, this inflationary trend persists. All of this will, in the short run, we should see this appreciation continue.
Okay. Well, I'll say sigh of relief if this trajectory continues. But as always, we don't want to get carried away with everything that we see because you can never tell with what happens in the market. But as always, Lagos, you can share your thoughts with us on the marketplace. You have contributions, you have questions, share them on WhatsApp. The number is 0911 We have a quick breather to take. When we get back in, we'll talk about some parameters and a lot more other things. So don't move a muscle. Stay tuned to Smooth 98.1. We just have a quick breather. We'll be back in just to pay some bills. I'm back in.
Meals have a way of taking us on a journey, and when you add plenty of vegetables like a pork, ugu, and season with the rich taste of North seasoning cube,
Excuse me.
go ahead and elevate your meals with more vegetables and the rich taste of no cubes. Today, eat for good. On September
December 24th, 2025, the highly anticipated second edition of EcoBank Design and Build begins. The excitement is palpable as players in the Nigerian build and design space look forward to an amazing variety of Nigerian creativity in design, building, and construction.
The theme this year is how we build, how we live, and that aptly captures the expectations of the many discerning visitors. Attendance, by the way, is free.
EcoBank Design and Build 2025 is intentionally curated to showcase the very best people, ideas, and innovations that inspire us to rethink how we live and build.
A major highlight is the daily knowledge sharing sessions with leading voices in architecture, interiors, and urban planning. Not to forget the immersive kitchen installations and cooking experiences.
Venue is the well-appointed EcoBank Pan-African Center, right by the lagoon at Ozumba Mbadiwe Street, Victoria Island, Lagos. Time is 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. day. 24th to September 28th, 2025. Attendance is free.
See you there.
EcoBank, the Pan-African Bank. Accessible, informed, connected. Road in marketing. Make a confluence.
All right, Lagos. It is 33 minutes gone past 5. You are tuned into the marketplace here on Smooth 98.1. And if you just tuned in, well, we're discussing monetary policy for Nigeria. And my guest who is joining me virtually is Oluwaserantimi. She is the research analyst at Vetiva Capital Management Limited and she's been giving great insights. Okay, as always, to share your thoughts, questions you might have, any other contributions, WhatsApp is the platform. The number is 0911 I'd love to hear from you. And what are the questions, contributions you have? Talking about contributions, hi, Emmy. I see you. I'll get back to you in a bit. So we're talking about parameters. So based on the parameters we've discussed a bit, right? What do you think the monetary policy decision will be like tomorrow? Will they hike? Will they still be the same, or do you think the rates will be cut?
So one of these key decisions are likely to occur: a moderate cut or hold. A moderate cut to be on the backdrop of the disinflationary trend we've seen so far. I mean, we've seen annual headline inflation as on a year-on-year basis drop from 24.88% in January to 20.12% in August, which is impressive. And also, the appreciation of the naira we've seen, moderating energy prices in terms of PMS price, and also, the stronger reserve, as we've seen the reserve at the levels of 41.9 billion USD dollars. All of these will be, their major reason for a moderate cut, like I said. And they might also want to look at, the global space. We've seen Fed cut rate by 25 basis points, which was its first move since December 2024. And also coming home, Ghana also cut the rates by 350 basis points, and Angola as well followed suit at 50 basis points. So all of this might be, also a contributor to a moderate cut. However, there's tendency that the MPC might hold the rate, given the fact that it's hinged on its commitment, like I said, on a single digit inflation target, which is yet to meet, as we're still on the 20% levels. And also, so far on a month-on-month basis, for example, in the month of August, we saw core inflation still rise increased despite, the deflationary trend year on year. Month on month, we saw 46 basis points increase in core inflation, which, measures the non-volatile categories. So that can also be an important note for them to hold the rate at 27.5%.
Well, that is well, until we actually get the updates tomorrow. Well, we'll just keep speculating. That's all we can do for now, but it's fine. But between the MPR, that's the monetary policy rate, and the exchange rate, which has more impact on businesses and individuals?
I would say both actually, both the MPR, which is monetary policy rate, and exchange rate has impact. But for the exchange rate, it has like an immediate or large effect on prices, especially on imported prices, medical inputs, manufactured inputs, all of which, contribute to the cost of doing business, which relates to market prices. And as well on the side of individuals, exchange rate volatility will also mean, high cost of living. So both actually influence. And on the other hand, the MPR, which, directly affects borrowing costs for individuals, like I said, borrowing, in terms of expensive loans for maybe small businesses, and for businesses at large, investment decision to, add to their capex, which is their capital expenditure, to get capital goods. So, but I will say on the short run, the effects, influence the individuals and businesses directly, while on a larger scale, the MPR, which shapes, credit conditions and investment, also influence. So both influences businesses and individuals.
Okay. Well, Emi says he's not satisfied with the response you shared earlier. Okay. I mean, I don't know what else Oreoluwa can say to convince you or make you see things in her own light. But hey, we disagree to agree, right? If you have more updates you'd like to share, or if you have more insights, please go ahead and share them with us. WhatsApp is still a platform. The number is 0911 Well, still talking about just talking about the monetary policy, right? Do you think that the MPC's decision would have, how do I put it? Do you think that the forecast will be repeated at future meetings this year? Like the whole, how we're seeing things right now, do you think it's something that they'll make revisions, or if it's the same thing that we'll see throughout this year?
Like I said, it's conditional. So if
Okay.
the disinflationary trend persists in terms of, subduing inflationary pressures, the MPC is likely to, cut rates in the near term. That's like in its next meeting, given the fact that there's still relatively a stable macro environment in terms of appreciating naira, moderating energy prices. All of these are factors that will influence the forecast. But if this persists, of course, they will, continue on that momentum. However, if there are risks or shocks, maybe global shocks or external shocks, they might actually adopt another hold, or they might even hike rates if it's necessary.
Okay. And here's something I'd like to know. So beyond the monetary policy, right, what fiscal measures should the government be taking to complement the CBN's effort actually to stabilize the economy? What say you on that one?
Okay, so in terms of fiscal measures, decreasing, borrowings, government borrowings can also assist in ensuring the rates are not steep, and like crowding out private investment. So they want to look at that as well. Yeah. Yes.
Okay. And hey, I like the fact that you say he's not crowding out those investments, and trying not to overborrow, because it just seems as if we're taking too many things, and we don't want our children's children to come and be the ones to suffer for them. So more or less, almost like you're mortgaging your future. But that is something to also look into. However, we're talking about inflation earlier on, and I know that many Nigerians feel that the effect of inflation is more on food prices than on anything else. Why do this is just me thinking because you hear, oh, things are getting normal, or things are the prices should be reasonable, but why do same set food prices remain so stubbornly high despite overall inflation slowing?
Yeah, so inflation tends to, fade away a bit. It's not like immediately. So especially for Nigerians, which, they like to continue selling with the current market price, and it takes
Okay.
time to like be adjusted. But however, in the short term, yes, all this will also be seen in the marketplace.
So that sounds like relief actually. Okay, so just be patient. Yes, you might be buying certain items at a certain amount right now, but hopefully everything will ease up, and then I can't guarantee that you buy sachet water for how much you used to buy in 2020, but it will actually be something reasonable, or will continue to have a stable. The whole idea is actually to have a stable price as opposed to something that's always inflating
Yeah.
and seems almost impossible to buy. But for everyday Nigerians, what practical steps can they, either as an individual or small businesses, take to cope with the current high interest rate in our economy or an environment right now?
Oh, okay. For individuals, high interest rate, like I said, encourage, savings, which will earn you more money as the interest rate is high. While for businesses, high interest rate, like I said, fits into curbing inflationary pressures. So on a positive note, is helping you with your input costs and ensuring your operating expenses are not above the roof. So it's curtailing, the inflationary pressures within that, and also improving profitability, the bottom line, which they all want. So yeah, in the long run, high interest rate so far, like 27.5% we've witnessed for a while,
Mm-hmm.
has done that. Yeah.
Oh, awesome. Finally, what's your outlook for Nigeria's economy as we gradually close out 2025?
So overall, it's actually a cautiously optimistic outlook, given the fact that we are now at 1,497 naira per dollar. The CBN has done a lot of justice to ensuring a steady naira.
Agree.
So if this momentum continues, if this momentum continues in terms of
Not
disinflationary
when or
trends,
if.
if yeah,
Okay,
if
fair
this
enough.
momentum continue, we expect a cautiously optimistic outlook for Nigeria, and also the naira is expected to strengthen if we also see, like I said, more higher inflows from foreign
Okay.
investors, as well as increase, non-oil and oil export earnings. So we're exporting more, we're bringing in the FX that will also stabilize the currency. And in terms of growth, we've seen the just released Q2 GDP showing 7.23% for Q2 in 2025. All of these, is a gradual pickup, but if this also continues, yeah, we expect a cautious, optimistic outlook for the country.
Mm, I like that. I like that a lot. All right, Oreoluwa, thank you so much for all that insight today. However, how can Lagos or even someone like Emmy reach out to you to ask? Earlier he says he's not satisfied with the response. So how can he reach out to you to get more insights, maybe break it down for him and the rest of Lagos who want to get more insights, or even the world, because yes, we are global like that. If they want to reach out to you, how can they do that? What platform, social media can they reach out to you on?
Okay, they can reach out to, the research at vetiva.com, where our analysts will be on, we're always on our deck to respond to questions, to give our insight on any topical issue.
Alrighty. Lagos, that's how we draw cotton today on the marketplace. I have gained insight. I'm hoping you've also done so. So let's see what tomorrow will bring with the whole conversations around the monetary policy rate and all that once we get all that insights, you know what? As always, we'll share them with you. But so much more lined up for your listening pleasure here on Smooth 98.1. Don't move a muscle. Okay, thank you so much. It was a great conversation. I trust
Thank
you
you
have
for
yourself a
having
pleasant
me.
evening.